I've been hunting for this for so long. It feels like as sad as it sounds like a quest in life has been ticked off. I finally completed a side quest in my life, which yes, it's just a commercial. It's not that deep, but I feel pretty good that I actually found it. So I have no idea what I'm gonna do now in my free time. I guess read One Piece. I guess I don't know. I have all this time now, not looking for this commercial. What started as a joke of, wow, wouldn't it be just absolutely crazy if I just read all of One Piece, accidentally became all I thought about for several months straight. I watched the live action over the weekend, and then spent the next 2 months reading the manga and getting up to date. And then the next 4 months watching the anime, and now I guess I play with the One Piece gacha games, and I'm not sure how much of that is just straight up a call for help. But now that I'm up to date with the anime, I suppose it's time to rank each arc of the anime, and thankfully a tier list was already there. Actually, several were already there on Tier Maker, so I didn't have to really make one like I do for my Digimon rankings that I've done. However, I don't know why, but I really like it when the tier lists have the option of F, because maybe something is really bad. But none of the ones I could find had E and F. They were only S, A, B, C, and D, so I've just gone ahead and added E and F just because, like, some things are just, like, I always will say, like, a D is kind of just, like, an okay. E is still a pass, but could be better, and F is just like, this is bad, or at least I'm not something I'm not enjoying as much as the other ones. Now, before I go into it, these are all the arcs, not including the filler sort of mini arcs that happen like during each arc. I will probably talk about them. I do like the filler episodes, but this tier list doesn't include them. But I'm kind of including them as part of whatever arc that they are inside of, so to speak. Another thing is that these are my opinions, subjective, etc., etc. You can disagree with me, that's cool. You can agree with me, that is also cool. Tell me your thoughts about each individual arc in the comments below, because everyone will have different opinions. These are just mine, and I always feel like I need to stress those. I'm not sure how many One Piece fans who aren't Digimon fans will be watching this, but Digimon fans, some of them seem to get really upset if you either like a season that they don't like, or don't like a season that they do like. So I always feel the need to stress, like, these are my opinions. I'm not saying that your opinions need to align with mine. I'm not saying that you're wrong if you disagree with me. These are just opinions, subjective, etc., etc. And I just thought I always try to throw that one in when I'm talking about opinions, because sometimes people can get a little bit weird when it comes to difference in opinions for very basic things like just enjoyment of media. So anyway, let's get started. So Romance Dawn, that's just like the start of the show, obviously. Also, what I would include is the first like 100 chapters, so Orangetown, Syrup Village, Baratier, Along Park. I kind of all include those in like the East Blue kind of Romance Dawn, the first 100 chapters, the first 100 episodes, and of course the first series of the live action, which, as of recording this, there's only the one, and if you haven't already watched it, do watch the live action, especially if you are wanting to get into One Piece. I feel like it's a great way of getting into it. It's how I got into the franchise, and I very much recommend it to anyone. It's only 8 episodes long, and it covers basically the first 100 chapters or 100 episodes of One Piece. So let's get into it. Romance Dawn. It is. I really like all of the starts. I'm probably gonna all put them as B. It's a pretty strong start. I'm probably gonna put this one in A because Mihawk shows up, and I like Mihawk. Along Park is probably also, I would say, an A, but for the most part, they're kind of just that they're good. They're good starts. They kind of show you what the series is about. It's very kind of, I want to say, light compared to the rest of the show. Also, these individual arcs are a lot shorter than some of the later arcs. That's why I kind of include it as one big chunk, the East Blue Saga, which is, as I said, 100 chapters, 8 episodes of live action, etc., etc. But yeah, it's a pretty strong start to the series. I guess it could be seen as slow in some parts, despite it only being a much shorter individual arcs compared to later on. In a similar way, Logue/Rogue Town, because something that's funny about One Piece is that things change spelling constantly in the localization. Marineford, for example, is also written as Marine Fort. Mary Jawaz is constantly just changing names. Levelry is also Reverie and also Revelry. So it's the funniest thing about how the official localization can't seem to make up its mind about spelling. And meanwhile, with Digimon, it's kind of like, oh, we called that Digimon Orgamon instead of Ogamon. I guess that's how it's written now. We called Piccolomon Picklemon. I guess that's a shame. I guess we're stuck with that now. So it is kind of funny. Just between like One Piece seems to not be able to make up its mind on spellings of naming things. So Rogue Town, Logue Town. I'm gonna also put in B. It's fine. It is important to the story, but it's one of those shorter arcs. And now I'm looking at this, I'm not actually seeing Revelry or /Levelry/Reverie as an arc here. I guess whoever made this list includes it as Whole Cake Island. It takes place between Whole Cake Island and Wano country. It is a lot shorter, but I feel like it's only about as long as Logue Town/Rogue Town and also Jaya. I feel like they're the same length, but I guess it's kind of just an important one that kind of just sits there. Reverse Mountain, kind of like a C there. And I just refreshed my screen, but thankfully it remembered my place, because I am getting over a sickness and my brain is still not 100% awake, but I didn't lose my progress, so that is cool and fun. Anyway, so Whiskey Peak, I'm gonna put that as B. Yeah, so Reverse Mountain, actually, I feel like I'm just gonna put everything in B because I'm just saying, well, that was really important to later things that happen. And, now I'm gonna put it in C, and Whiskey Peak, I'm going to... Zoro's really cool in Whiskey Peak. I'll leave it like that. Little Garden, I'm gonna put in C as well, it's fine. Also, something that I really like about One Piece is that, except for like one arc, which I'll get to later, everything seems to be super important and will be addressed at some point later on in the series. Reverse Mountain became relevant again like 500 chapters later. Little Garden became relevant again almost 1000 chapters later. So that's something I appreciate about One Piece. It is this really, really long monster of a series, but for one thing, it doesn't actually feel that long once you get into it because it's super fun to watch. There's not much that's a slog, but every single arc, except for one, which again I'll get to later, will be addressed again later on. So that's something that I really do appreciate. And Little Garden and Reverse Mountain both became relevant again, and I didn't think that they would when I was first reading through it. I was like, Little Garden seems kind of like almost like filler. No, it's not. It becomes relevant multiple times in the series and even is still relevant now. And Reverse Mountain, again, became super relevant as well, with Laboon coming back, kind of, and it's just something that I didn't expect to become relevant again in the series, and I really appreciate that from the franchise. Next, Drum Island, which I always have to try to like, which one's Drum Island? Oh, it's the Chopper one. I don't know why, but I always forget that it's just called Drum Island. In my mind, it's just the Chopper one, and I don't know why, but I just in my brain, it's the Chopper one. I'm gonna put it in C. It feels like you get great, surprisingly tragic backstories as all characters seem to have in One Piece. But I feel like for some reason it was a little bit more of a slog than the other chapters, or the other arcs, if that makes sense. Like, I felt like the chapters went on a little bit longer. Of course, you get Chopper, you meet characters that become important later on, and again, every character in One Piece, even the bad guys, has this like tragic, sad backstory, and Chopper is no different, and I didn't expect that from Chopper. Next, we have Alabasta. I love Crocodile so much. Alabasta was probably my favourite of the arcs when I was just starting reading it. It was the first arc where I was like, wow, this is really good. This is just fantastic. And I feel like that's not that's not an unpopular opinion. That's I'm fairly certain something that a lot of people would, from my understanding, agree with. I love Crocodile so much. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Alabasta in the live action. There's a lot that I'm looking forward to from the live action. Doing season 2, Logtown, of course. I'm really excited to see like what they do with Smoker in the live action. I'm just very much looking forward to that. But Alabasta is probably like would be the main focus of the season 2, I would assume. And in general, it is an arc that definitely makes you think, oh, okay, One Piece has started. Even though One Piece has already started, this is the first arc that felt like it meant something at the time, whereas all the arcs that came before it, like Whiskey Peak, like Reverse Mountain, like Little Garden, they all felt like they were just kind of filler. They weren't, because again, they became relevant later on, but this was the first arc that felt like it was full of plot at the time of reading it. Of course, yes, the other ones are still got plot, but this one had immediate plot of this is a big bad, kind of like when we had Arlong Park, we had Arlong, but this felt like a real big bad because it was a character that was one of the 7 warlords, and previously the other warlord that we met is Mihawk, and he was very strong and almost killed Zoro basically. So it felt like you're finally meeting characters that are important to the story, and you kind of finally got a pretty hefty, long, solid arc. While all of the previous arcs, like Arlong Park, Orangetown, Syrup Village, they were kind of, as I mentioned, they were fairly short. Same with Whiskey Peak, Reverse Mountain, they're all fairly short. This one was the first, like, arc that felt, like, meaty. It felt like a full, complete arc. So, love Alabasta, but I also absolutely adore Crocodile so much. I love him so much. Then we have Jaya, which is kind of like an in-between arc. Yes, it is relevant for Skypiea. It does a lot of like foreshadowing and world building for this arc. You also meet Blackbeard, so you do meet some characters that come up. Doflamingo and Kuma also make their first appearances briefly in this arc, and this is when the 7 warlords are talking about what they're going to do to replace Crocodile, as he kind of the world government was surprised that when they put a pirate who was evil in charge of things and gave him like agency and the ability to like go off and be evil, they were all surprised when he ended up doing some evil things. So who knows? So Jaya is kind of like one of those necessary arcs, but I felt like it was kind of not super interesting. It kind of word dumps on you a lot. Having said that, Skypiea is just the word dump and info dump arc. Having said that, I did enjoy it. It is a very important arc. When I was reading through this arc of the manga, I saw a lot of people saying, oh, don't skip Skypiea, and I was like, why would I skip anything? It's probably the first really long arc, so maybe people got bored of the info dump, but a lot of things that happen in this arc later on become important and relevant later on, like with the majority of arcs. I found this fun, and El was kind of like a fun guy. I thought that the going Mary, like foreshadowing for what happens in Water 7 and Enies lobby was kind of heartbreaking and concerning, but it was great to sort of build on that, and the anime I feel like builds on it a little bit more. And we get like a lot of the characters who are the cowardly characters start to become a little bit braver here. Usopp and Nami being like, the more realistic, like, hey, I'm a little bit scared of, dying. It's great to see that. and we also see more of sort of world building and foreshadowing for things that are to come, and I feel like this is probably one of the most important arcs. So I didn't understand when I saw people saying, "Hey, I skipped Skypiea." Like, wow, like I don't understand. Like, why would you skip any arc, especially not one that is so relevant to the rest of the story? It just I don't understand that. But it's a fun arc. Then we have now this is the arc I was mentioning earlier, how and why I had to add an F on this tier list, because I hate the Davy back fight so much. It is just, I don't know why, and as of recording this, that everything to do with Foxy has not come back. I feel like this is the only arc that doesn't have anything important to kind of show that comes back into relevance later on in the story. Yes, Kuzan does appear at the end of it, and you kind of get some, like, foreshadowing for the next arc that's immediately going to happen, but in general, for the most part, I just hate it. I hate Foxy, and I don't know why. The anime keeps on bringing Foxy back. Foxy had multiple filler arcs where he just came back and was Foxy. I don't know why. The anime also brought him back for the One Piece Stampede movie. I don't know why. I don't know why that happened. I don't know why Toei likes Foxy. I don't. I think that's the idea. I think you're not meant to like Foxy. And do not like him is something that I do not like. I mean, I do not like him. But I hate him. I hate every time he's on the screen, and the manga doesn't bring him back. At least, as of recording this, unless I'm completely forgetting. I mean, my brain just blanked out his existence, but the anime does multiple times, and I wish that they didn't, because he is the most annoying character. I think that's the point. I think he's meant to be annoying. He looks annoying. But, this is probably the only arc where I'm like, when I was up to it in the, it's one of two arcs where I was like, I don't want to have to watch this again when I get to the anime. Because when I was reading it, I was like, I don't like this arc, and then I was like, I'm dreading having to go through this arc. And the anime also makes this arc longer. They add extra stuff to it. So, I don't know why they did that. But they did! Water 7 is S tier, Enies Lobby also S tier. I kind of grouped them together. I felt like this was when I really started getting into One Piece, when I was reading these arcs. Like, I really liked Alabasta. But I feel like Water 7 and Enies Lobby were when I was like, okay, I really like this franchise now. Like, I already liked Alabasta, but these were the arcs where I was like, yeah, this franchise has caught me in its little devil grip, and I loved these arcs. They were very fun. I would definitely say that these arcs, especially Enies Lobbies, are my favorite arcs. There's also the post Enies Lobby, which is like a short arc that happens after Enies Lobby, and sometimes in some lists I see it separately, some lists I see it not separate. I'm also would say that is also S tier. That whole Water 7 Enies Lobby, post Enies Lobby, I'm also all putting in S tier. The post Enies Lobby is also where we see Kobe's just phenomenal growth of 6 months, where he now looks completely different, and I love that for him. I would also like a glow up like that. Like, yes, please. So that's some great arcs. Thriller Bark is fun, but has like the whole existence of the clear fruit and that whole thing. I just wanted to like take Sanji and just punch him really hard in the face. He was just very annoying at that part, but then the nothing happened part kind of made up for everything. So yeah, it's gonna be an A. It's got Big Sasake, and that plays a lot. And also, I cried over a whale. Did not expect to cry over a whale or a boat, but One Piece has me crying over both. So Thriller Bark is A. And I'm gonna try to pronounce the next one correctly, because my monkey brain is doing the thing where you read the word hyperbole, but you say hyperbole. My brain's doing that thing. Sabaody Apegalo. Yeah, that's gonna be in put that in A. I read it in Japanese, and I kept on reading, like, I was obviously reading it like Shabondi, like the way it is written, because Japanese is phonetic, and I was like, but why is it written as Sabaody? And then I had to look it up, and it's like, I'm not a linguist, but what's like the reverse of like a silent letter? It's like an invisible letter. I don't know. And was it Portuguese? I think it was Portuguese, and it was like it's meant to be like it means soapy, and the N is like there's an N there, so it's Sabondi. But I was really confused because I was reading it in Japanese, and I was like, I keeps on saying Shabondi, but the whenever they have like the text, it says Sabaody, and everybody calls it Sabaody because I'd only read it. I was like, I was very confused. Like, why is it Shabondi in Japanese? So I got to learn something. Yeah, this is a great arc. You learn a bunch of characters. This is the introduction of the worst generation. We get to see Kid, who is great. We get to see Law, also great. We get to see Drake. We get to see some really cool characters. And also, I forgot the guy's name, but the one that I don't like, the sound one, I don't like him so much. The name escapes me. He comes back in Wano and is annoying. He's my least favorite of them, but I always forget his name. He's that guy. I don't know. I don't know why his name is escaping me right now. But anyway, so that's a pretty good arc, and it's also kind of sad at the end. It also kind of starts the separation arc that lasts 2 years. So yeah, it's an important arc, and it's kind of like a fun, quick little arc there. Next we have Amazon Lily, which is a good arc, but there's something that gives me like a little bit of the ick about Hancock like obsessing over a 17-year-old when she's like 30, and that just it gives me a little bit of an ick. I get that she's like not used to men treating her like a person, and she kind of falls in love with him because of that, but it just gives me the ick just a little bit. We also kind of see how nice Luffy is. Like, this whole arc is just like, isn't Luffy just a nice guy? I love that for him. And I like how different the all the characters are in this arc. They're not just all like big booby sexy women. They have different like designs. They don't just all have like the same face and same body type. They have different hairstyles, they have different body types, they have different like height. They're different. They're not just carbon copies of each other. And I do like that about One Piece. Like, of course, there's always going to be the pretty ladies, and Hancock's whole thing is that she's a pretty lady. Like, that's her. Like, if there was to be any fan service character, it's her, because she is just, that's her thing. She's beautiful. She is just stunning. Everybody loves her. Everyone's attracted to her except for like 3 characters who don't seem to be turning to stone whenever they see her. So, like Luffy, Zoro, and Kobe. So, and I guess Smoker at one point also doesn't turn to stone. So, but for the most part, her whole thing is that she is just beautiful, and that's her thing. And I do like how all of the other characters in this arc aren't just like the same look as her. They are just all different. I really like that. I like the variation of designs, and in general, that applies to all of One Piece as well. I could say the same about all of Big Mum's children. They all look different. That makes sense. They've all got different dads, and I love that there's like that variation in character design. Next, we have Impel Down. I really like the arc. I really love it. It has a lot of characters that I just adore coming back in this arc. I'm going to put in A, however, because it kind of like feels like the last part where they're just spending time escaping from poison the entire that for like a surprisingly long amount of time, and I feel like that part drags a little bit, but for the most part it's a really great arc. Marineford, I'm putting in S because of course I am. It has Mihawk. Like, I can't say no to Mihawk. He is my favorite character. I'm pretty sure that's why I watched I watched the live action so fast, and then I immediately read it because I was like, oh my gosh, that sure is a character. So Marineford is in S. It is a great arc. It is annoying how the thing that they're trying to prevent ends up happening anyway. Makes it feel like a lot, like very pointless, but it does also, it's pointless, but it's also not pointless. It's like a catalyst for a bunch of things, but it feels like the whole of Impel Down and most of Marineford resulted in the thing they were trying to prevent anyway. So, yeah. Now we have the time skip arcs, return to Sabaody. Almost let the monkey brain win that one. Um, I don't like. I mean, again, this is like the same thing as Foxy. I don't like the characters that are the false, the fake Straw Hat crew. I think that that's the point. They're meant to be annoying, and I don't like how they spend a lot of time just avoiding them. And Luffy, I get that Luffy's trying to be incognito, but it's really annoying. And also Sanji is just the worst. Or maybe he's about to be the worst. But I just, nah. So it goes in D because I just found it a little bit annoying. It was a short arc at least, and it's kind of has to happen where they all meet each other again because they're all having this reunion after 2 years. Speaking of which, Fishman Island almost goes in F, but it does actually have some good points. But every time it's an E because of every time that Sanji is on the screen. It's not an F because there were moments where Sanji was not on the screen. So Sanji being on the screen makes it an E. Whenever Sanji's on the screen, that makes it not an F. So Fishman Island has a lot of important parts, very important plot. You get a lot of plot-heavy moments in this. It's got some, of course, tragic backstory because of course it does. However, every time Sanji's on the screen, I want to reach through the screen and strangle him. He is just so annoying in this arc. Everyone was like, hey, Sanji's really annoying in this very specific arc called Fishman Island. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's kind of like Sanji is kind of girl crazy. That's kind of his thing. They just turned it up to 11. Like previously, he was just kind of, he liked women. He was kind of, flirtatious with women. And yeah, then he goes like full overboard. So E tier for me there. Now we have Punk Hazard, which has Caesar Clown. When I was reading this, I saw Caesar Clown's. I read Caesar Clown's laugh, and I was like, wow, that's probably going to be a really annoying laugh to listen to, and it was. But now, like after a full arc of listening to it, it became my favorite laugh because it's just shirorororo, and I don't know why, but it always makes me smile because it's so obnoxious. Like Caesar Clown would absolutely call me a slur, but it would call me the wrong slur. I don't know why I get that impression from him, but I do. Uh, having said that, I kind of just love that. So it's going to be in. I'm gonna put it in B just because I really love Caesar Clown's laugh, and also the moment when Doflamingo shows up at the end and he shows his Conqueror's Haki, and it's just in the most extra way possible, and he just kind of does that. It's just great. So Punk Hazard, super fun and kind of like important for later arcs, mainly Dressrosa and Wano Country. So yeah, putting it in B. Dressrosa, on the other hand, is going in A. I love Doflamingo so much. I don't know why, he's just so awful, but I just love his family moments so much, I don't know why. We get Law's tragic backstory because everyone has a tragic backstory. We get Doflamingo's tragic backstory because everyone has a tragic backstory. And in general, I would put it in S. But I feel like the Colosseum bit goes on a little bit too long. And I feel like they string out Sabo's introduction, or reintroduction rather, into like something that's more annoying and sort of drawn out than it should be. Same with the Return to Sabaody, where we had like the drawn out like reunion of the Straw Hats and the drawn out like beating of the fake Straw Hats. So I don't know why, but I just felt like that reintroduction of Sabo was drawn out, and yeah, I felt that the Colosseum just felt a little bit longer than it needed to be. Next we have Zor, which is kind of like I don't know why, but I call it an in-between one because it feels like a lot shorter than, and it is a lot shorter than Dressrosa and Whole Cake Island, but you get to meet the Minx, and you get to meet Carrot, and I like Carrot, and I like Pedro, and I like a few characters that are introduced here, but it's not really as memorable as any of the other arcs. Next we have Whole Cake Island, which I'm going to put it
in S. This arc for me is also Big Mom annoys me. But that's the point. You're meant not to like her. Her like her laugh being mama 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 is the most annoying thing, but it's so perfect. But she's meant to be annoying, and she is. But I'm gonna put it in S because it's a redemption from Sanji because he's not completely terrible. But two, this arc, and this is just an extremely personal, just a me thing. But this arc felt like it was a lot heavier than all of the other arcs. Like it felt like it was emotionally heavy and it was emotionally draining. And maybe that's probably just a me thing, but I just felt like it just hit me harder than all the other seasons arcs. Also on the I forgot to mention about Marineford, but Marineford also gets an S place because it has that one Dofumani scene where they're just clearly have some sort of history, but we're not going to elaborate on what history. You could just make it up yourself because as of recording this, we haven't understood why they were bickering like that, but they were. It had some ex-husband vibes, what can I say? But yeah, Whole Cake Island felt heavy. Now, lastly, there's Egghead, which hasn't, as of recording this, concluded, and it's not on this list, but it would probably, as it stands, probably be around A. Also, the opening for Egghead is, as the youth would call, goat. So that's the thing. So yeah, but Egghead is the current one. So Wano is the one before Egghead, and I know a lot of people like Wano, but like I'm gonna put it in like E. It feels so much longer than it is meant to be. It does also have a lot of characters with big chests on the screen, and it's very full of fan service. I am, of course, talking about Zoro and Kid, because their chests, I don't know why, are just huge in this, and I'm like, wow, okay. Thank you, Oda and Toei, for this gift. But having said that, the whole season being so drawn out makes me just want to put it in E. It feels like each episode is not just a chapter in length. Each episode feels like it's like a page of a chapter in length. I don't know why it's so much longer than it is in the manga. I feel like it's like 50 episodes longer than it should be. It doesn't have any of the filler arcs like other seasons. It has 2 movie tie-in arcs, but they're only like 2 episodes in length each. It does have a bunch of recap episodes as well, but they're not included in the episode count. And I don't know why, it just feels like it goes on a lot longer. I don't like Kinemon and Momonosuke. I didn't like them when they showed up in Punk Hazard, and I don't like them in the season, but at least we left them behind. Of course we do have Yamato, and I love Yamato so much, and I kind of wish that he joined the Straw Hats, but we can't all be perfection. But yeah, I don't like Wano. It is not the best arc, but it's definitely not the worst. I think I probably like it more than Fishman Island, but that's just me. Also, the characters I feel like spend too long separate and don't reunite soon enough. But in general, it just feels like it's so much longer than it needs to be. If it had like half the amount of episodes, I would probably love it. It would probably be an A, but it just feels like a slog. And yes, I get that the anime was trying to catch up to the manga, and that's why filler episodes exist. But I would have much rather and preferred like a 10 episode filler arc and happening several times during the series rather than just the arc just being spread out. And there's also a lot of replaying what just happened, and this happens constantly. It's like a recap of things that just happened, which is kind of a shonen thing, but you don't really see it too much except for at the start of One Piece. You see a lot of it in the early arcs where we're just replaying things that just happened, but Wano does it a lot more. So, in general, those are my thoughts and how I would rank each individual arc of One Piece. I would love to see how other people would rank these arcs. I'll put this tier maker in the description below. I definitely did not realize that I would talk about these arcs for as long as I did, so thanks for sticking with me and for listening to my cold voice, which I have, but I'm on the mend, I promise. But in any case, those are my thoughts about the One Piece arcs. I will probably do an updated one when it eventually finishes in, what, 5, 10 years, whatever. But in general, in the time being, let me know your thoughts, comments, questions, etc., in the comment section below. Like this video for, I don't know. I'm surprised that I put Whole Cake Island in S, but I just, it made me have more feelings than the other arcs. What can I say? Subscribe if you haven't already, and I do plan on doing more One Piece videos, so let me know what kind of things you would like to see me and hear me talk about regarding One Piece. I am really enjoying it. I'm not sure if you could tell. But yeah, so if you have subscribed, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your neighbors, and of course, I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Damn, I should have said tell your nakamas. Well, too late now. Bye!